We have staggered elections. Do you think that we've been able to justify the amount of money and time we spend conducting our elections?
No, we have not justified the amount of money. And I can tell you, nobody has really audited the amount of money that goes into an election process.
It increases every time.
Not just that it increases. The ones we capture are the ones we give to INEC. The ones the civil society collects from the international bodies, nobody knows how much.
To monitor elections.
Whether to monitor elections or to conduct voter education or to, just all sorts of things. So what we really spend on elections in Nigeria is really too high for us to, start mentioning here.
Do you think that, I know you've talked about, you've stated your stand on that, but if someone is worried about the cost and the time that has not been justified over time, and we're saying, look, maybe we should do this in one day and see how we can save some more money, do you think that that makes sense?
No, why we are saying that one day may not be feasible now, especially if we are still operating the presidential system. We have said it all the time, the presidential system is very costly. Now, we have what we're saying again, we have 5 elections. So if we can do 5 elections in one day, and at the end of it, you have many void elections. Remember that why sometimes they don't publish the void votes is because they write the results. When they write results, you won't really know how many
Did you experience this while you were monitoring the elections?
Oh, sure. Just like when you look at the 2003 and 2007 elections, not only we experienced, sometimes we took photographs of them, policemen involved, a lot of people involved in either right. In fact, at a particular time in 2003, for close to 1 month, they could not finish the thumb printing they did in Enugu State.
Wow.
Well, they were still thumb printing 1 month after the elections because they had 1 million voters for the governor.
And the results were out.
And the results were out, and they didn't finish thumb printing.
Wait,
So
the results were out, but they're still
They continued thumb printing almost 1 month after the elections.
You don't say.
Was this evidence brought before the tribunal?
Of course, the tribunals were not necessarily working. In fact, we were getting the information on the. In fact, we were almost getting the pictures of people that were still thumb printing, people that were calling.
You never got the pictures. Okay. Now, the thing is, the countries you've observed election,
Yes.
do they use electronic voting?
Some of them use electronic voting. Ghana do not use electronic voting. And India do not use it. I'm not sure of India. I'm not sure of India, whether they use electronic voting. But then, the issue is not necessarily of electronic voting.
Why not?
The main issue is the confidence, because I can tell you, if Nigeria uses electronic voting, there are these jokes that have been flying. They said, in Nigeria, when you are about to vote, you know the results 2 weeks before the day. you know what the results are.
Can they still be thumb printing a month after if we were voting electronically?
And would they be writing the results?
The question becomes, would the tribunal take into consideration, just like...
It's about our laws,
it's just like the thumb printing. Now, you can know if somebody alleges... No, yes, but the tribunal plays an important role. If, for instance, I allege that there are massive thumb printings, what stops the tribunal from calling for the inspection of the fingerprints?
If the Electoral Act is amended,
yes,
to the extent that the country votes electronically,
yes,
are you suggesting that the tribunal will not accept it?
No, they will accept it.
So
what I'm saying, even if somebody writes an election result, how do you go about the evidence? That is one.
That will be easily worked out by the
But
commission.
even with what we have today can easily be worked out. If we go into electronic voting now, many of us are really for electronic voting. But with the modern system where you don't have lights, the batteries will fail you. Just to do registration.
Haven't you seen some improvement? Because now they say we will have about 75 million registered voters. So it used to be less than 60 million at the time.
It used to be 60.
But now it's about 75. So that's an improvement with the same, the improved facilities now.
Yes.
So who says that we can't go about this electronically if they amend the Electoral Act.
Yes, yes. Anyway, we pray they do that, but our problem is let the elections not be bungled. Take, for instance, if we say battery, somebody may say, oh, the batteries they brought is fake. You know, because remember, you have to transmit the results.
Are we expecting it to be perfect in one fell swoop? Because there will be challenges. You may have some things that may not necessarily work on day, but you know, as you say in law, was there substantial compliance? Is that what we're looking for?
Yes, and what would be substantial compliance? If, for instance, 30% of the country, you know, is bungled, what happens?
So if it's 10%, what happens?
If it's 10%, that may be okay.
But if we vote,
but if the INEC says they are ready
for electronic voting,
and then we're ready to fund it,
so that means if we do that, it means we can vote in one day.
Yes, of course.
All the elections.
Of course, it means we can vote. And but again, we must increase the budget. We must increase the voter education program.
But we're still talking about you talked about the amount of money spent in voter education that can't be accounted for, so to speak, and you're saying they should increase it.
But that's what it's going to be, because with what we are spending, we are having problems trying to identify people we are going to vote for manually. Now, when you go into electronic voting, I must go down to my village. And people must go down, look out for the old women, look out for people that didn't go to school to find out what it means to do electronic voting. And we must also try to, you know, protect their privacy too, because these things must be done. And you're looking at 75 million voters. So you must find a way of reaching to at least 60 million voters for them to understand. Today, we don't have lights. You can't even do it through television or through radio. So it means it has to be through town unions. We must move to every town.
It's a combination.
It's a combination. 18 years and above. Every person should know this is what you're going to do. If you're going to do electronic voting, this is what you're going to do to make sure that it works out.
You know, Mr. Ezeala, but sometimes don't you think that we're a little too careful, you know, with our willingness to take risks, in the sense that we're already seeing the impossibilities before we begin to say, yes, we can do this, if only we do this, this, and this. Yeah. Do you think that we're a little too careful as a people?
Yes, my recommendation to this would be, now, let the Electoral Act be amended to allow electronic voting, as long as INEC certifies that it is okay. But let us not do it in the first general elections. Let's do it in the states. You know, now we have staggered elections. Let's, for instance, if we say we're having elections in Ondo State, let's do a test run in that area. If we're having an election in Anambra State, or if we're having a by-election somewhere, let's do a test run.
Do you think that will be safe? Because, I mean, here we are, we're still doing things manually, and for states, as you rightly mentioned, it will seem that what we've seen, some people say it's not true, some people say it's true, that the elections have gotten worse in terms of conduct.
I would not agree that elections have gotten worse in terms of conduct. I would not agree to that. Why I said I would not agree to that is, we know what happened in 1999, into 2003, into 2007, 2011. I think we're getting better, if we must tell ourselves the truth.
But from 2011, would you say that all the other elections conducted, because a host of people do agree that 2011 was a turning point in terms of how our elections were conducted, but elections conducted in different states after that seem to have fallen short of the standard we set for ourselves in 2011.
I may not also agree with that. We have had about 4 elections. We had Edo State, Ondo State, we had Anambra State, so, and the other minor by-elections in Delta. And putting all of them together, we won't say we have run short of it, if we want to tell ourselves the truth.
Do you think that changing this portion or amending this portion of the Constitution that says it's the party that's voted for, not the individual, would it help our electoral process in 2015?
That is also another issue we Nigerians will need to look at. Are we voting for individuals? Are we voting for the parties?
That the Constitution says is a party, because the party that fields the candidate.
No, it is the Supreme Court interpretation.
Okay.
In the case of the governorship elections, that says that it is the party that we voted for. The Constitution simply says that you cannot be voted for if you're not sponsored by a political party.
Okay.
Now, that is interpretation of the
I
Supreme Court.
remember-
Should that give room for independent candidacy then? Would that help?
No, it may not necessarily help to bring issue up, because also the logistics of having independent candidacy, because if we have 20 political parties or 50 political parties, one person should be able to go and get one political party that can sponsor him. For me, it's really independent voting.
You know,
that we have.
yesterday one of our respondents, one of our viewers on Twitter said perhaps the elections should go without candidates and the parties should go and vie and they can pick up candidates afterwards, just in response to the Supreme Court ruling that we actually vote for the political parties, not exactly the candidates. What do you really make of this? Would you support independent candidacy?
In South Africa, you vote for parties. In some other places, you vote for parties. Now, in Nigeria, we vote for both parties and individuals. Why I said, when you look at the character of Nigerians, you will see an area dominated by a particular party. But because of the individual who has picked the Labour Party ticket or who has picked the Accord Party, people will vote for that person.
But the law recognizes is the party that we are voting for. That's how the law says.
Yes, going by the Supreme Court decision, the law recognizes that it is the party we are voting for. But my own view is that in view of the character of Nigerians, we should be able to say we are voting both. Because most of the people that will vote for a particular party belongs to that party, not necessarily because of the candidates.
That will mean making some allowance for independent candidature.
No, if we say we are voting for parties, if we say, for instance, we are voting for parties, the issue of defection in the House of Rep, you wouldn't say they will resign their seats and there will be a by-election. What you will say is that they will leave and PDP will supply new people. That is voting for party.
Which hasn't happened, which is not happening.
Yes, but which is not what people are canvassing for. What people are canvassing for is, if you have cross-carpeted, you leave and then there will be an election. If we had voted for PDP, there wouldn't be need to have another election. PDP will simply supply names of 37 people who will represent it.
But isn't that why they are in court now?
No, they are not in court to ask
them to vacate their seats?
No, they are in court.
I thought they had several cases.
They are asking them to vacate their seats. But they are not asking that PDP should be given an opportunity to present people to be there in the House of Assembly without being elected. But so you see that is now when you see that they are, the interpretation is that it's a twofold thing. You leave the party, you vacate the office, then there will be another election. Okay. In which people will decide whether the persons the party will bring up, whether those people will continue.
All right, Chukuwuma Ezeala is a legal practitioner. We've been looking at these 3 bills before the Senate on the Electoral Act 2010. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
We'll return to look at your comments after this break, so join us again.